Okay, the Eagles able to get a touchdown, but not able to get over the hump against Seattle. 17-9, your final score here today in Philadelphia. Thanks for joining us on the Postgame Show. Amy Campbell, Fran Duffy, Ike Reese. Guys, the Eagles fall to 5-6. Not a game that that they're probably going to be too proud of here. A lot of difficulties on offense, a lot of good stuff on defense. Kind of same theme that we saw last week with New England, Ike.
Yeah, I mean, start on that offensive side of the ball, not being able to move it. Then when they had opportunities to move the ball, got inside Seattle's territory with it, they turned the ball over a couple times against a team like Seattle who didn't come out with their hair on fire today. They didn't come out clicking on all cylinders either, but the Eagles not able to take advantage of that. And eventually the Seahawks, too many turnovers. That's what doomed this team today. 5
turnovers is not really something you can overcome very much in the NFL.
4 straight games, this defense has held the opponent to under or 17 or under.
Wow.
I mean, that's all you can ask for if you're a defense. I know that was something that Jim Johnson preached was, hey, if we hold them to 17 or less, we feel pretty good, and they've been able to do it over the last month.
All right, Dave Spadaro standing by from Lincoln Financial Field. Dave, you're right there feeling the vibe, feeling the energy of the crowd, the energy around the Eagles bench. Take us through it. What's going on?
And the fans deserve to be upset. Very, very poor performance once again by an offense that just, look, it's the same drum we've been beating all year. Can't get the football down the field. Really bad ball security. Carson Wentz got booed right there as he ran off the field into the tunnel. And Carson's playing very poorly. I mean, the right side of the offensive line was a disaster today. Brandon Brooks goes out with the illness, and they're already missing Lane Johnson. Andre Dillard benched. Matt Pryor and Halapoulivaati Vaitai playing the second half of this game on the right side of the line. That's a far, far cry from an all-pro tandem of Brooks and Johnson. But whatever it is, the Eagles got to find a way to fix Carson Wentz. And I know that he's throwing to receivers who don't have great speed, and I know that they're not catching everything for him, but there are too many times when he's just not looking comfortable in the pocket. He's holding on to the ball too long. He's making bad decisions. His ball security in the last few games here in the pocket has not been good. So a lot of things wrong with the Eagles offense, starting with number 11.
Yeah, I got to agree with you on that, Dave. You know, I looked at this, you looking at this game today, this wasn't a game that was about drop passes from the skill position players or Carson not getting enough help on that side of the ball. You know, pains me to say it starts with number 11, and the way that he played today, I think really hampered this offense being able to capitalize on some opportunity there early in the game. He just doesn't look comfortable in the pocket to me, whether it's the pocket awareness or his ability to let the ball go on time. And I'm just wondering whether or not he's able to see the entire field and use the entire field as opposed to cutting off the field and limiting himself as to where he can go with the football. What are you seeing down from the field level?
I don't see a lot of receivers wide open, first of all. So in defense of Carson, that is one thing that is happening. Look, he throws to Zach Ertz a lot. He throws to Dallas Goedert. He throws to Miles Sanders when he has a chance to, and but he's not getting the ball outside. And look, not a lot of separation. But there are times when you must trust a little, throw in anticipation. Look, I don't know. I don't know. When things don't work, you look out, you go, hey, boy, this offense, which was so creative, now it's not creative at all. That's not on. And so it just doesn't seem to be, there's no sync at all with this Eagles offense. Look, the first possession, you feel it here. There's a little bit of momentum going on. The Eagles get down the field and, you know, they kick a field goal. And you thought, geez, there's a chance right there. You get 7 points. And they didn't capitalize on it. After the Dallas Goedert fumble, the Eagles get the ball right back. And they didn't capitalize on it. So, I mean, every quarterback goes through it. Carson really hasn't gone through this kind of struggle. The struggles he had last year were a different kind of struggle. So this is a very critical time in the development of Carson Wentz. He's not getting a lot of help from a protection standpoint, certainly did not today. He's not throwing to Pro Bowl, all-pro wide receivers. We get that. but there are times when you got to make the play, or at least keep your team out of a bad situation, and that just didn't happen today, and it didn't happen last week either.
All right, very well said, Dave. We'll let you get into the locker room there. A lot of reacting going to be happening after this game. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Fran, I think really well said there by Dave, and it's kind of my sense that I had as I've been watching Carson the last few weeks and just kind of getting into my emotional intelligence of what I'm seeing. This can't be easy for him, and there's something about adversity that changes a person, and you kind of see them click into their own sense of identity a little bit more, and you see a lot of athletes go through it, especially ones who have success at every level of their career. When it gets really hard, they are able to kind of find this new level, and I don't know if I've seen him kind of get there yet. This is a different type of adversity that I don't think we've seen him face, and I think Dave kind of alluded to that as well.
Yeah, I think honestly that there's a lot of nuance that needs to be had with this discussion, because I think ultimately, football is a team game. We talk about this. It takes all 11 guys, right? So yeah, one small little error on any given play, whether it's a missed block or a drop or a wrong route, the guys not being on the same page, that can get that can end a drive or it can keep a drive going. That's in a micro sense. But then when you look at it from a macro sense, and I look at Carson Wentz, and you lose Deshaun Jackson, you lose Alshon Jeffrey, you're going into this game without Nelson Aguilar as well. You're down your top running back in Jordan Howard. You're down Lane Johnson. You lose Brandon Brooks in the first quarter. Your team is struggling. There's a lot of adversity that this whole team has gone through from a big picture standpoint. It's a lot. It's a lot. And as a young quarterback who's still trying to kind of come into his own and say, this is my team, I'm trying to put this, put my stamp on it. It's a lot. It's a lot to handle. So I think ultimately, Dave said it, it's a very critical part in his development. We're at a very critical stage right now for him. We know the kind of player that he can be. We know the kind of he's one of the most talented passers in the league. We saw Russell Wilson make some bad throws today. They're able to bounce back. So now it's a small picture. All right, next week against Miami, how does he bounce back? Big picture, 2020, 2021. How does Carson Wentz continue to look down the road? It's not about next week. It's about big picture with this team, and knowing you've got your franchise quarterback, you've got to continue to, obviously look, the guys around him have to get better, but when you look at it, we could point to any route and say, man, that was a bad throw. That was a terrible interception. That was a bad sack from Carson Wentz there. Yes, in that individual play, but I think it's a culmination of all of these factors coming in, because football is the ultimate team game, and going in, all that stuff is going on mentally as well.
Yeah, that mental component is huge. And I think, he's never going to point the finger at anybody else on this team. He's always going to take full responsibility for all of that. Whether it's on him or not, he's going to do that, which is, kind of the job as the leader is to always say, look, it doesn't matter where the breakdown was at the end of the day. Like, we're all accountable. And he's absolutely always going to be doing that kind of thing as well.
And he's also going to continue to work his butt off to improve.
No question.
I mean, he's not going to shortchange you on a hard day's work. He's going to continue to work to try to get this fixed. He knows that he needs to play better. And when you're down the type of talent that they are on the offensive side of the ball, a lot of our eyes are going to focus on how does the quarterback play. Can his play sort of ignite everyone around him and sort of lift up their spirits? And I think the one thing that was a little discouraging today, not that he made a bunch of bad throws or anything of that nature, I think it was some of the sort of simple plays that would keep them out of negative situations that I would have liked to have seen Carson make. Like, you're getting rid of the football instead of holding on to it, and that turned into a fumble, dumping the ball off to Miles Sanders in the flat. That may not have led to a touchdown, but that's a play where, who knows, Miles may make someone miss, and it does turn into a touchdown. But if you overthrow him by 3 yards, he doesn't have a chance to do anything. So I think Fran touched on something that's very key. And I don't know if Carson will ever be able to sort of shake it. The guy puts a lot of pressure on himself. He wants to play well. He wants to do well out there. And that's what you're seeing right now. He wants it so bad that sometimes the simpler throws become the harder ones to make, because he really wants to be able to take that ball and hand it to those guys and have something positive happen. But that's just not the way the game works. I think going forward, he's going to be okay because, again, His work ethic is impeccable. He's going to continue to get better at this. The coaches around him are going to continue to coach him up. I thought the young receivers, when given an opportunity, they made plays today.
Yeah.
So that's something else that you can take away from this game, that the more those guys are out there and they feel less pressure to have to produce, the more they're going to relax. And when their opportunity comes, they'll be able to take advantage of it.
The way I look at it is this: as you're an Eagles fan, you're watching this game, and you say, you know what, this was tough to watch offensively. Defensively was awesome. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Offensively, this was very tough to watch. It's been tough for the last 7 quarters to watch this offense, but this too shall pass. Like at some point, everything's going to come together. The speed's going to come back. I don't know. We're talking about this game next week against Miami, the week after that when we get down the run, or this divisional run here. Big picture wise, you have to like what this team has how this team is put together. There are pieces in place that you can work with moving forward. You know, they still have to be able to say, all right, we have to execute and continue to develop some of these young players.
Let's talk a little bit about that defense and the defensive performance here. Russell Wilson had thrown 2 interceptions coming into this one, and we saw Rodney McLeod had one, and then kind of threw it backwards to Avonte Maddox. Also, this was like one of the, I've never seen so many like laterals and like side, like a college game, like kind of game with just all of the wild
The ball
stuff.
was in the air a lot.
There was a lot of, the ball was in the air and the ball was on the ground, a
Right.
lot more than I'm used to seeing it in the NFL. It was wild, which I'm sure is fun if you're on the winning end of it. Let's talk about this defensive performance. That was, Russell Wilson didn't have that impressive stat line that we're used to seeing from him, but he still was able to do just enough to get his team the win, which is why he's so dangerous.
6 sacks. I mean, the defense, and it's not even
That's
just that.
pretty
I mean,
good.
the defense was constantly in his face. I'm going to talk about it later when I break some film down, because there were plenty of examples of this defense getting after the quarterback, so it was tough for me to try and pick just one. I think I know which play I'm going to do, but I think when you talk about this defense and what they've been able to do over the last couple of games, over the last few games, really, as I mentioned, 17 points or less over the last 4 games played, they're continuing to hold up their end of the bargain. The rush is there. The linebackers are playing well. The secondary is really coming together. I know they gave us some big plays. Guess what? This Seahawks offense was the most explosive pass game in the NFL this season coming into this game. They held them to 17. They're going to get theirs. They score a touchdown off another trick play. That's the second in 2 weeks. These teams are trying to, no, they have to go deep into their bag of tricks to put up points against this Eagles team. And then they give up kind of a, I don't want to say a cheapie, but they give up that long touchdown run. That's a tough play. All right, you know what? That was a tough one. The only touchdown they've given up really of circumstance in the last 2 weeks. I think ultimately this defense is playing at a really, really high level.
That's the only reason we've been in the last 2 ball games.
Yeah.
And you can say they outplayed Buffalo's defense and Chicago's defense that led to victories for us, because the offense in those games weren't explosive either. It's just that the defense was playing so well, and those other teams' quarterbacks aren't Tom Brady and Russell Wilson. I'm with Fran. When you look at what this defense has been able to do over the last couple of weeks, you got to tip their cap to them. They're the only reason that you've been in these ball games and had the opportunity to even win these games. It's unfortunate the offense can't necessarily capitalize on their play. Russell Wilson hasn't looked like this as a quarterback all year long, pretty much. And it wasn't that he turned the ball over a lot, but you forced him into a lot of 3rd and long situations. Some of them he converted, others or most he did not convert. And this defense continued to give them opportunities by taking the ball away, and we just couldn't capitalize on it. It's a product of having all their guys back right now. So now Jim Schwartz can go deep in that playbook and come up with some play designs, particularly in man coverage, because he has his full secondary back, and that defensive front 4 starting to play well. I like that Jim Schwartz is also bringing extra pressure. I think Malcolm may have had, 3 sacks today? At least 2 sacks. Yeah. He was in the backfield an awful lot. Rodney McLeod making plays today. Anytime your safeties are becoming a part of your rush package, that's going to be difficult for any offense to be able to protect. And Jim Schwartz, give him a lot of credit, man. He's been able to dig into that playbook a lot deeper the last month or so, and has really given this team a chance to win. Now, in the last 4 games, they're 2-2, but if not for this defense, you could very easily be 0-4.
Give you a sense, I'll give you a sense real quick of what this defense was able to do. Looking at the stats, Russell Wilson completed 13 of 25 passes.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz completed 33 passes on his own. So when you look at this, 12 incompletions for Russell Wilson, that's as many as Carson Wentz had. So we could talk about Russell Wilson or about Carson Wentz's struggles in this game. Russell Wilson had just as many incompletions. You know, I think that kind of speaks to the defensive play. That doesn't excuse Carson's play, but going to the defense speaks a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at the total offensive yards there, I mean, the Eagles only 4 behind the Seahawks on that one. So let's hear from Coach on today's game.
It's very disappointing. I thought defensively, I told the defense they played outstanding again. You know, outside of a couple plays, offense obviously is just not good enough with the mistakes. You know, the turnovers, the execution, just not good enough to win.
Started out so inaccurate, right? And then he was just turning the ball over. In your view, what's going on with the quarterback?
Well, it's hard sometimes, you know, and you know, playing that position is tough anyway. Obviously, a lot of pressure and a lot of, you know, we ask a lot of our quarterback and a lot of Carson, and you know, the one thing you can't do in that position is just put pressure on yourself, you know, to perform. You just got to let things unfold, you know, and sometimes you can do that when. I think sometimes you know, you feel like the offense is struggling, you feel like you have to make a play, and you just got to let the game unfold, let the offense unfold, just let everybody work for you, and don't feel like you got to make every play.
Was there anything that you said to him during the game or at halftime to try to correct some things, specific things, mentally or physically?
I mean, you know, just those same things. Just let everything kind of unfold. And listen, we've always said this, that it's not about one guy, but, you know, obviously, you know, our quarterback is a big part of our success and the things we do. And you know, sometimes, you know, even as a play caller, you just got to get back to some of the basic plays, some of the things that you have a lot of time invested on, and get back to that and try to get something going.
You mentioned the defense played well. Did you bench Tiller?
At halftime, we made a switch. Went with Big V. Just felt like at the time, you know, just needed to switch it up, make something happen there, and went with Big V in the second half.
What was Brandon Brooks' illness?
He just, you know, got sick and just had an illness, and you know, we had to make a sudden change.
Is there anything related to his previous battles with anxiety?
I haven't talked to the doctors yet.
Towards the end, Carson was obviously favoring his hand. He went back to the locker room, came back, he tried on a glove and some different things. Did he communicate to you at all how bad it was hurting? Or?
No, he tried the glove early in the game, pulled it off when the rain stopped, and everything was okay with his hand.
You mentioned the defense played well in that game. As the play caller on offense, do you feel like the offense is kind of letting the other side of the ball down right now?
You know what? We don't point fingers like that. You know, we're a team, and when we win, we win as a team. When we lose as a team. And today we lost as a team.
Did you realize that Carson had hurt his hand? It looked like he
Yeah.
hurt his hand in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Was there any consideration of replacing him with Josh? It looked like he came back and maybe got X-rays or got examined. What was
No, I mean everything that the information I got in game was positive with Carson, so we kept playing.
So did he get an X-ray done?
He did, and it was negative.
On the 3rd and 3, the handoff to Miles, that was the fumble. What happened on that play? What was the
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You know, Big V obviously just overset the guy or really kind of pass set the guy, and the DN disrupted the timing of the play, which, you know, we got to do a better job there. We got to coach a little better on that play, and just our failed execution.
Do you feel like this is kind of a missed opportunity when your defense plays so well against an MVP candidate with a pretty good offense at home? Your defense has produced the last couple of weeks, and the offense hasn't. I mean, is it frustrating seeing that side of the ball play so well and the other side of the ball not hold up its end of it?
Yes.
Why did you want to run that play on that 3rd down?
Just the style, the defense. You know, the defense, the structure during the game. I mean, the way it was, we had some success, not necessarily on that play, but the little shovel pass to Dallas in the game, very similar play, and we just didn't execute. You know, we got again. That's on me. I got to coach that play better.
Will Carson undergo further testing on his hand?
I'm sure he will. Yes.
Greg Ward had a big role for someone that was just elevated from the practice squad a day earlier. Was that something you worked on all week to get him involved?
Well, as you guys know, and you know, well, maybe you don't know, he's been working with our starters, you know, just because of the injuries we've had at the receiver position. So he's been getting a lot of time in practice with our starters. So his role was about what it should have been, you know, if he was more of an active player for us, you know, on the active. So I thought he did some really nice things for us, and something to evaluate tomorrow when we look at the tape.
On the third and one late in the game,
You had a handoff and drop for a loss. Why no quarterback sneak there?
Well, where the spot, well, actually, the couple of things. One, the spot. I thought the spot was a little bit closer, and then on when we lined up, it was a little bit further away. Play we had just run that play about 2 or 3 plays before, had some success. Miles had a nice run, came right back to it. Again, we'll coach it better next time.
When you're missing as many, some of the throws where Carson was a little off with some of the younger receivers, you can see afterwards him talking with them on the sidelines. Was there ever situations where they weren't on the same page or anything like that?
Not really. I know it can be a little bit different when not all you're working with different guys, but listen, this is the National Football League, and we spend a lot of time working with all our players, and these guys spend a lot of time even off the side during practice to get some of these throws. So whatever they were talking about, either a route or maybe the next time a route like that's called, the type of adjustment that they could make in game.
How had the week of practice been? Did you have any indication or fear that you would come out and the team would be as sloppy as it was?
I didn't. Thought we had a good week of preparation. Guys were focused. So that was no indication, obviously, of the performance today.
When you're missing as many starters as you are on offense right now, does it limit you as a play caller?
I think I'm more aware of maybe certain things, that we can or can't do. But for the most part, as we game plan, and put things together, we're still thinking of the same guys and putting things, even in the run game. And then once you get into the game too, you gotta make your own adjustments as you see fit.
I thought you thought Nelson and Alshon were trending in the right direction. As you said, sometimes guys have to play a little beat up, and it's the NFL. How come they didn't play it?
They just weren't there yet. And again, we're not going to risk anything further with either one of those guys. We still after this game, obviously 5 left, and we can still make a push, and didn't want to set them back any further.
Carson, how do you distinguish the difference between a bad game and reason for concern?
A bad game versus
reason for concern, a bigger problem that goes beyond a bad day.
Our issues on offense tonight or today were not about Carson Wentz. I mean, obviously he's a part of it. This is an offensive issue, so it starts with me. I gotta look at it. I gotta make my own assessment of my performance, and then we'll coach the players this week and we'll get better.
If it wasn't on Carson, though, how do you? What is it?
Are we done? That's it. All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay, Coach, very clear. Our issues on offense today were not about Carson Wentz. It starts with me, and not to get too soft right now, but I am just loving the way that Doug Pederson handled this entire press conference, answered all these questions. And I'm just thinking to myself, can you imagine if Carson Wentz had ended up on a team with a defensive coach who could not relate to these road bumps right now? I mean, how lucky is he to be in this situation with a guy who totally understands how he feels?
We see that all around the NFL on an almost weekly basis where that goes the other way. So certainly, I mean, that's one of the things that I was talking about is that don't look at it in just this game. Like, you can't just look at Carson Wentz has a great support or system around him. We're not talking about who the receivers were today. We're not talking about missing Jordan Howard and missing the right side of the O-line. I'm talking about support system around him to continue to build around this. He's going to learn from this. He's going to get better.
I do want to talk a little bit more about the offensive line and just some of the struggles that we saw. I know you're going to want to dig into that tape a little bit more and kind of see what reveals itself. But, when you're missing, like Dave Spadaro said earlier, you're missing some all-pro talent there. You can only get so creative where just the level of play goes down a little bit. Where did you see some of the struggles today?
Well, it's tough without seeing the tape. But I will say that sacks can be a little fickle because it's not just an offensive line issue. Sometimes it is. On some plays they are. It's not just a quarterback issue. Sometimes on some plays they are. It can be a receiver issue. It could be a running back issue. So all of those things come into play. There were plays last week. I know Ike and I, we broke down a play on Eagles game plan this week where you could point to all 3 aspects of it. You could look at the receivers and say, you know what, the receivers didn't uncover quick enough. The quarterback probably could have pulled the trigger a little bit earlier, and the protection didn't hold up. So all 3 things come together. When you have sacks, typically that's kind of what it looks like, is that it's not just on one guy. It's typically some kind of a team effort.
Yeah, and I know we don't like to use injuries as an excuse, but the bottom line is there's a reason why Brandon Brooks is an all-pro, arguably the best right guard in football. There's a reason why Lane Johnson is arguably the best right tackle in football. And the drop-off from those guys, it's going to be large. It just is. And you give credit to the young guys going in there, doing what they could do. Andre Dillard, having never played right tackle before, moving over there. I didn't think he would feel comfortable, and you wondered how much Seattle would game plan to try to throw a lot of stuff at him to get him crossed up. But the fact of the matter is this offense is just missing too many of their top-level performers, and it's showing out there on the field, whether it's the inconsistencies in being able to move the football, take care of the football, the quarterback being able to play well, everybody having a certain comfort level in an in-game situation. All those things are playing a part in the last 2 weeks of watching this offense sort of struggle to be consistent moving the ball. You look at them earlier in the year, they were one of the better teams on third down. They were one of the better red zone teams on third down when they had the majority of their players out there on the field. It's gotten progressively worse as you continue to lose guys. You just can't say next man up. It sounds cute, it's a great cliche, and it's great when it works. This is the National Football League, and when guys go down, there's going to be some level of drop-off, and you're fortunate if it doesn't cost you a game. And I think we were able against Chicago and Buffalo, missing some key guys, to get through those games. But when you're playing the New Englands and the Seattle Seahawks, Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll as head coaches, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson as quarterbacks, that stuff is going to be awful hard to overcome.
Well, especially when, earlier this week, Doug Pederson said, I believe it was in the one-on-one interview with Dave Spadaro, Jordan Howard is the key to the kingdom when it comes to opening up the run game and the offense. That was his words. And so just when you're missing so many guys, but especially such a critical piece, there's just going to be a difference when you have another guy, Jay Ajayi, who's coming off of having not played for a year, no matter how talented he is. So you're just going to see those types of things. Why don't we get into your takeaways?
Well, I mean, you got to start with the offense and the struggles on the offensive side of the ball.
Have we already touched on
that? Yeah. I mean, that was my first takeaway of the game, is just this offense just did not play well today.
Yeah.
And even when they had opportunities moving the ball and they had some success, they wind up shooting themselves in the foot, turning the football over deep in Seattle territory where it looked like you can get some points there. And against a team like Seattle that wasn't playing their A game, you would hope that you could capitalize on those sort of things. We just weren't able to take advantage of it today. And it starts with the quarterback. And when he's a little rusty or he's a little off, the offense is going to show. And the ineffectiveness and the inability to maintain drives, pick up first downs, and give yourself another opportunity to get some rhythm going. It just wasn't there for us today.
5 turnovers, the numbers are comparable on offense between two teams, but 5 turnovers, what are you going to do to overcome that? Should we talk about how good Greg Ward looked, though? Should we give him a little?
Well, I mean, I think, listen, he didn't hurt you out there today. I think we may overstate how well he played today.
Fair.
Thankfully, he caught the balls that Carson threw to him. But if you watch those play designs, and from the defensive standpoint, they were willing to give up those balls underneath to Greg Ward for 4 or 5 yard gains. Kudos to him, like I said, for being in the right place, being able to catch the ball. But Seattle wasn't going to allow the ball to be thrown over their head, and he was the beneficiary of being able to catch some of those things underneath.
I mean, really, and Doug was asked about this in the post-game press conference. He said, with all these injuries, does it affect you as a play caller? And the reality of it is, especially in a game like today where you're missing those guys, you're missing even Nelson, who had been your viable deep threat to this point. You're playing. What do we say about the red zone is that it's tough for offenses in the red zone because everything is so constrained.
Yeah.
Defenses get to play like the Eagles are in the red zone throughout the course of the field. So when you're missing those guys on the outside and then you're missing Jordan Howard, like you mentioned earlier, Amy, you're missing a guy that really can help establish the tone of your run game and say, okay, we're going to keep defenses honest that way. You're missing your hammer inside. You're missing any of the explosive weapons outside. Everything is constrained. Everything's in a short box. And that's kind of how we have to see this offense play right now until some of these guys get healthy.
That's a good point. What's your next takeaway?
Well, the play of the quarterback, right? I mean, that's sort of where we are. And I think the numbers, I look at this game today and I say Carson got off to a slow start, The turnovers are probably the biggest thing when you look at his play today, because 33 of 45 certainly isn't a bad completion percentage. But the fact that, like Fran just mentioned, the fact that the majority of that stuff is underneath, where Seattle is really trying to force you to throw the football, not being able to connect when they tried to stretch the field, I thought hurt the offense at times today. And it wasn't as if there were a lot of windows there for Carson to be able to put that ball in play. But he did have a couple of opportunities, and you would have liked to have seen him connect on them. The offensive line, I thought at times failed him, because if you're a quarterback and that pocket is collapsing on you, there's a clock in your head, and you're saying, I got to get out of here, or I got to get rid of the football. And I thought he had at least 4 or 5 throws today where they were just arm throws. He didn't necessarily get a chance to step into the throw, get his hips into the throw, and that's when you're going to get the ball either sail or it's going to tail off on him. And I thought a couple times to either Arcega-Whiteside or Greg Ward, he hit them on the wrong side of their bodies, and it was because it was strictly an arm throw, as opposed to being able to line his elbow up, the hips up, and pinpoint that ball with accuracy where he wants to put it.
I believe it was Steve Young who said when he was at San Francisco that he would be able to tell, looking on film, if a pass was going to be complete or not, just by looking at the guy's feet.
Yeah.
Not even like, forget the play. I'm just going to look at my feet. Okay, if my feet are good, yeah, this ball was probably complete. And so to Ike's point, some of those issues in your lower body as a quarterback can lead to some of your issues from a ball placement standpoint. But pressure, that's one of the reasons why pressure is so important for a defense, is if you're moving the quarterback off a spot, if you're making him feel uncomfortable. We saw that with Russell Wilson today as well. He's not comfortable. His feet can't get set. Now he's off target in a lot of these throws.
I was off on one of my points there, Amy. My second point was supposed to be how well the defense played
I thought
today.
that you might have gone, yeah, that's what I expected.
Yes.
So why don't we,
Well, we'll make that my third.
should we talk about
Yes.
how good the defense was today?
Yes, I got them mixed up there. Sorry about that. Yes, just a
You got to sandwich it,
yeah,
you know? We got to
extraordinary
go.
effort. My mind is locked in on the offense and how they played. But the defense really did play well today, really gave this team a chance to win this game. Russell Wilson back there, uncomfortable all day. I thought he didn't extend plays as well as he's done throughout the season today.
Yeah.
So the game plan to sort of keep him corralled and not let him just run around behind the line of scrimmage and hit you over the top, I think worked to a T today. Able to get 6 sacks on him back there, and really made him uncomfortable for the most part when it came to throwing the football. Fran mentioned earlier, really the only touchdown they gave up through the air was the throwback to Russell Wilson.
Great play.
Where it took a great throw as well by Russell, putting that ball in the back of the end zone.
Few things I love more than a trick play like that. And Russell Wilson, only 15 yards rushing, and he has been one of the best rushers on the team as well, so defense did a great job corralling him. What I was going to ask earlier, and I forgot, was Fletcher Cox on the field on the Rashad Penny touchdown?
Ooh, I have to look and see.
Look
I'm
at
not
that.
sure.
I think he might have not been there, which is going to be, a difference maker there.
Yeah, and sometimes if they had just, I think they had just finished the series, or not finished, but I think Seattle had just gotten the first down. So it's not odd that Fletch will come out for the first down play so he can be fresh for second and third down out there when hopefully you got them in a third and long, second and long situation. For him, he has to sort of pick and choose where he can catch a breather at, and it typically happens after a team just converted a third down into a first down, and then he's normally back on the field.
Yeah, he was a huge impact on that first third down of the game where he got home quickly for a sack. I think when you look at Fletcher Cox, you look at Brandon Graham, their ability to win inside quickly was a big part of today, but then also the guys on the outside, and that goes as well to Malcolm Jenkins, that goes to Nigel Bradham. Those guys did a great job of contained today, where Russell Wilson, if he was able to get outside the pocket, he wasn't able to really feel comfortable. The ball came out quickly. And a lot of that, and again, team sport, a lot of that goes to the coverage on the back end, was really, really strong throughout the day. During the press conference, like you brought up a good point, that their longest catch of the day, or their highest receiver of the day, was Tyler Lockett, 38 yards, and it came on the one play.
Catch, yeah.
Yeah. What happened on the McLeod interception?
So it looked to me,
Obviously,
and I want to see the film. I want to see the film.
Check the film.
They were in that inverted cover 2 that a lot of fans like to kill the Eagles because they've given up some big plays down the field in this coverage. It looked like they were in that coverage, and Rodney McLeod was playing underneath. Darby came from deep. impacted the catch point, got the ball up in the air, and McLeod came in from underneath. So, yeah, nice little play. I'm excited to see that one on film.
That was a fun one to watch. All right, let's get to our turning points of the game. Can we pinpoint any moments where this thing was going south?
For me, I mean, it's still a 10-3 game late in this game. And the Rashad Penny touchdown, to me, was the turning point. As difficult as it had been for the Eagles offense to get any touchdown, get any points on the board, you sort of felt if we can keep this thing to a one-score game, the Eagles may be able to steal this thing in the end. But once they went up by 2 touchdowns, I just felt like that was the nail in the coffin because of the way the offense had played today and how difficult it was for them to move the ball and eventually get it in the end zone. When Penny was able to get that touchdown, and I hate to make that my turning point because that's almost a knock against the defense, but they held on as long as they could, and that's really the only bad play they had today from a defensive standpoint. To me, that was when I felt like, we may not get this one.
But that's also saying, okay, I don't necessarily trust this offense to be able to come back from 2 scores at home, even though there was definitely time left for that to happen and being at home. We had not seen anything to give us faith that the offense would be able to do that.
And to combat that, the defense wound up getting another turnover to give you another opportunity to pull within 7.
So many chances. Fran.
The tough one for me would be that fumble on they tried the sprint draw down, and it was in enemy territory. There was a fumbled exchange between Carson Wentz and Miles Sanders. Coach was asked about it in the post-game press conference, and he said, Big V kind of overset there, let the defender get too far upfield. Look, this is a play, and a lot of fans are saying, what were they trying to do here on this play? The Eagles have had a lot of success. If you go back, LaShawn McCoy, 2011, 2012, the late years of Andy Reid, they loved the sprint draw. Howard Mudd, that offensive line, they ran this a lot, and it resulted in a lot of big plays. The Eagles haven't run that a lot to date here in this offense, but it's something that you see throughout the course of the NFL where really you're just trying to suck the defense upfield and then just kind of hit them late with a late handoff to the running back, and that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to get a nice little lane in the middle of the defense. Unfortunately, the exchange is fumbled because that instant pressure happened. Now, you could say, is that on Big V? Is the spacing right with the quarterback and the running back? Where are they on the same page? Regardless, ball ends up on the ground, goes back the other way. That, to me, was the turning point because it looked like they were starting to string a really nice drive together.
Yeah, I don't have a third turning point. I think both of those were moments where the wind was really taken out of the sails. I totally agree that going down by 2 scores, not a lot of faith in the offense to do what we hadn't seen them do this game. But I think that turnover there on the botched handoff there with Miles Sanders, because also they were getting a little bit of momentum, but they were on the Seattle 38, and the swing went to Seattle having the ball on the Philadelphia 32. And just talking about the field position battle and some of those hidden yards that you so beautifully taught us about last week, Fran, against the Patriots, that to me was one of the biggest swings, was not only do you turn the ball over and lose the momentum, but you were getting close to scoring, and now you're putting your opponent in a good scoring position. Yeah,
it happened a couple times, happened in the first half too, and that's really where when the team looks back at this game, Carson, offense, they're going to say, we had opportunities, right? We had opportunities when we finally got a little momentum and got down in the territory. The interception, when Carson had somebody right in his face, probably wants to put a little more air under that ball to Dallas Goedert, and then can't allow that DB to be able to undercut you and make that interception there. That was another sort of momentum killer where I thought, okay, we're starting to move the ball. Here's an opportunity to sort of put some points on the board. And again, you just shoot yourself in the foot there. Those are the ones that are deflating. Those are the ones where you say, man, we had a chance right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe we're about to hear from Carson Wentz, which I'm really interested to hear from him and just kind of catch his vibe and his demeanor after this one, as he's, always taking responsibility for the struggles of the offense and never pointing fingers. But especially after a day like today where not a lot was going right for this offense, where you saw a lot of the playmakers out, a lot of the top guys on offense who would be catching those passes, who would be running the ball, not playing today. Also the offensive line, some shifts there with different guys coming in and out. A lot of different things for him to adapt to.
What was the injury for you? Real quick. Yeah, just my hand. Everything was negative, so should be good. I don't think it did. It's something I was just making sure it was good, but that's by no means an excuse for how we performed whatsoever.
Did that happen on the tackle?
Yeah. Yep.
How do you think you played today?
Not well enough at all. We got to I have to, be better. I have to lead this team better. I got to protect the football better. We can't put it on the ground the way we did. And it starts with me. It starts with me, and I'm frustrated. I know everyone's frustrated with this loss offensively. I mean, like I said, turning the ball over starts with me. I got to be better, and we will be.
Carson, what was it seemed like you had some difficulty early. What was that problem just with the short passes getting away from it?
Yeah, I just got to own those. I missed a few, and there's no excuses. I just missed them. I got to be better.
Doug Pederson.
No, just got to be better.
Doug said sometimes when you see the amount of players that you're missing on offense that you might try to do too much or maybe put too much pressure on yourself at all to do more. Do you feel like that's the case at all, or what?
I didn't feel that necessarily today. I thought we did an okay job, and there was plays there to be made. And every time we got something going, we turned it over. And that's a handful of those were on me. And it starts with me. I got to protect the football, and you can't win many games with 5 turnovers, like that. So, our defense played great again, gave us a fighting chance again, and offensively we let them down.
I know you'll go back and you'll look at detail. Let's not talk about the turnovers. Let's talk about 2 passes that you missed. The crossing route to Zach that was behind him in the first quarter. That was on 3rd down. And then when you overthrew Miles Sanders. What happened on those 2 particular plays?
I missed them. Missed the throw. I got to be better. I mean, there's no excuses. It wasn't the wind. There was nothing. I just missed them. I got to be better.
Carson, can you tell if when you do miss a throw, is that an immediate thing? Can you tell maybe the footwork wasn't there, maybe a mechanic, or is that something you got to look at?
You could say sometimes that might be the case. You can tell, but today I don't know. I got, like I said, I'm not going to stand up here and make excuses for missed throws. That's not what I'm going to do. I got to make those throws, and I will next time.
Have you looked at those mechanical things, footwork, follow through, arm position, all that stuff? How much have you scrutinized that?
Yeah, we always, kind of study that throughout the week. Obviously, as the season goes, this can be harder to focus on those, but we always talk about them and work through them. So, again, there's no excuse with that either.
How much do you think it might be mental? How much do you think it might be?
I felt good mentally. Mentally, I think everything was good. We were right there, and I physically just missed the throw.
On the fumbled handoff to Miles in the 3rd quarter, what happened on that play? Because that was a pretty good scoring opportunity.
Yeah, that one was tough. There's no excuse on that either. It's something that we got to work and be better at. I think it was kind of a new kind of play, and Miles and I just probably didn't communicate enough on it, and I got to be better for him and give him a chance on that one.
This isn't a characteristic play from you. Does anything is something standing out? Like, I know that this is where I'm kind of straying, or whatever the case.
Not really. I think the turnovers. I think everything else. We missed a few throws and things like that, but the turnovers really kill us. And that's something that I got to take a hard look at and see where can I be better. Where can I obviously keep. And the drive and a kick, one way or another, and not put our defense in bad situations. And I can be better, I will be better, and we'll get this thing going.
How tough is it to play without, Deshaun, your 3 top wide receivers, Jordan Howard, your top running back, Lane Johnson, and then Brandon Brooks? How tough is all that to overcome?
Yeah, obviously that's part of football. That's part of football every year, every game. There's a handful of injuries, there's this and that, and we've since the day I got here always said next man up mentality, and I have a lot of confidence in the guys that do get in there, and I thought a lot of those guys played a good game today, and we just didn't make the plays. I didn't make the plays, and but by no means is that an excuse or anything.
Carson, you've been on teams here before though that had a lot of injuries and didn't play as sloppily as you guys played today. What was the difference? What's the difference?
Yeah.
What happened back then and what's happening now?
Tough to say. Like you said, it was sloppy. Plain simple, it was sloppy. I was a little careless with the football today, and that's frustrating. I'll be the first to say I'm not happy about it. And I got to fix it. I got to look in the mirror. There's really no excuse or no other real big issue, so to speak. We just got to take care of football.
Given the instability on the offensive line, would it have been a good idea to get you outside the pocket more, get you away from the pass rush?
You know, that's a game plan thing kind of every week, you know, depending on how they play us and what, you know, what they want to do and what they show on tape. So, you know, you could always second guess and say maybe we could have done this more, that more. That's football. But, you know, I thought the guys up front, you know, fought their butts off and did what they could. And I let them down.
Carson, I realize you say there's next man up, but how do in-game changes versus like you game plan not having Lane in mind, lose Brandon in the game, they move Andre up, put Big V, so there are a lot of moving parts. Is that different than?
I mean, I think it is tough for those guys. I mean, you know, but at the same time, they're always ready. You know, that's the mindset. You know, be ready. And obviously, with Lane and Brandon, you know, two of the best at their position. But you know, I thought those guys. Again, I'd have to look at the tape, but I thought they stepped in and did their thing and did well. You know, so that's not an excuse. We believe in every guy that dresses out there. You know, whether they're going to play no snaps or play the whole game. So we can be better, and we will be.
In a few times in your career when you've had these tough games, New Orleans last year, maybe I guess Cincinnati, your rookie season, how did you respond? What were the hours and days like after that?
Yeah, first of all, you know, not make it a giant thing. You know, just for one, you got six days and you're back on it. You know, it's 6 days to get ready. So try not to really change your routine or do anything crazy. Just stay with what you know and just take a hard look in the mirror. You know, and say where can I be better? And you know, we realize that there's going to be a lot of outside noise and guys looking at us. And as a leader, I got to be better. I got to lead these guys better and keep this thing going.
It might be the first time we've heard you get booed. I don't know if you've ever been booed in high school, college, or anything. Maybe it's a rite of passage in the city, but does that affect you? Does it make you more frustrated? Do you hear it?
I mean, you know, you never want to hear it, but you know, it is what it is. That's the city, that's the fan base, and I'm frustrated too. You know, when we're playing like that. So you know, they have every right when we're playing poorly to let us know.
Malcolm was talking about the importance of playing complementary football, dependent on how like a game is taking shape, that kind of thing. What do you think the offense's role in that is? You know, over the last 5 games here.
What exactly do you mean?
I mean, you know, for all both sides to be synced up, to be ensuring the best chance of winning, helping the other side out. And what do you think the role is for this offense given the circumstances?
Yeah, I mean, you know, for us offensively every week, you know, we want to stay on the field. You know, we want to convert third downs. We want to, you know, have ball control and. At the end of the day, our ball control. I think our time of possession was still okay. We just put it on the ground or put it in the defense's hands. You know, I got to be better with that. But you know, I think that's kind of our MO is to sustain drive, stay on the field, and not put our defense in bad situations. And we did that a few times today, and they stepped up and played well. So yeah, it's tough. You know, these last 2 weeks when the defense plays good football and complimentary wise, we didn't help them out.
Two more questions. Doug said that your hand, you'd get more tests on it. Is there anything to be concerned about there?
I don't think so, but obviously we'll wait and see.
During the course of the game, is it tough to not press? You know, even though you committed through turnovers, is there a tendency for the offense to not try too hard to get themselves back in the game?
I mean, you could say that, but I think we've done a good job this year of not letting that be the case. You know, I mean, I don't think us pressing is the reason we turned the ball over. You know, it was just, you know, it was sloppy. You know, fundamentally, I got to be better. I mean, it was just sloppy. You know, and but pressing wise like that, I don't think that. I thought we did a good job of handling that and just taking what was there and trying to just stay on the field, and we just didn't do a good job of it.
In the big picture, why or how is this going to be better? I guess what should people look at to think this is going to improve?
Yeah, I mean, and I get the question. I do, you know, especially after the last 2 weeks' performances offensively. But, you know, the same thing stays the same for me is I have a lot of confidence in myself to fix the things I can correct. And each guy's going to do their part and get it fixed. And, you know, we're going to turn the page real quick. You know, we're going to learn from this, turn the page. But, you know, we got 6 days to go out and practice, work our tails off, you know, and go get a W on the road.
Okay,
Thank you, guys.
Okay, I thought it was very interesting that he said, look, we didn't play well enough. We have to. I have to.
Yep.
Blah, blah, blah. It starts with me. Kind of caught himself there. Just speaks to his mentality. Any reactions from
ownership?
Yeah.
Like that was what you wanted to hear from your franchise quarterback. I think exactly. He's as frustrated as everybody, whether you're at home, whether you're in the studio, whether in that locker room. He's as frustrated as everybody, and he's going to do whatever it's got to do to get it fixed. I appreciated the honesty and the ownership.
Yeah, always like that.
Yeah, every week. I think, when he stands up there at the podium, he's always reflective of how he played that day, especially in losses, right? He's going to start with himself. In wins, he's all about praising his teammates, praising the guys around him, and that's what you want from the leader of your football team. And it starts with the head coach. He is pretty much the same way, and Carson takes Doug's cues as well. And, those two guys are going to always be under the microscope when it comes to this football team, when they aren't doing well. And it's just refreshing to know, or I guess I should say, it's encouraging to know that from our two most important leadership positions on this team, you have guys that are hard workers, are going to hold themselves accountable first, and going to do everything that they can to get this thing fixed. Carson knows he's not playing well himself first and foremost, but he also understands that he has to bring these young guys along, right? He doesn't have the veterans, Alshon, Nelson out there with him. So these young guys are looking to him for leadership, not only standing at the podium, not only throughout the week in practice and how he approaches his work every day, but out there on the field throughout the course of a game. And there were several times where, there was a camera shot of Carson on the sideline, and he's talking to either Greg Ward or he's talking to either J.J. Arcega-Whiteside after a completed ball. That's going over there and trying to get on the same page with your wide receivers. Saw him talking to Miles Sanders over there after the botched handoff. So those are things that you want. He has to make sure he tempers his frustration because, again, those guys are going to take their cue from him and watching him on the sideline. And, again, I know it almost sounds redundant at times when we're talking about Carson, but I think as you move forward, these are things that are going to make him that much better as a quarterback going forward. These are tough times for him. Things – I don't want to say they came easier to him, but he certainly had a lot more success his first couple of years in this league. And the one thing I know about this league will humble you. This league will make you go back to the drawing board and get better and update your resume. And I think Carson's going through what a lot of young quarterbacks go through, which is going through tough times, trying to navigate through it while being a leader and being upbeat and being positive. And these type of things are going to make him a better player and a better leader as he moves forward through his career.
Yeah, and that does happen in the evolution of a quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're seeing Jared Goff go through
yeah.
it right now as well in LA, and of course those two will be tied together forever going 1 and 2 in the draft as well. Of course, really good point by you, Ike, that we're seeing Carson Wentz take responsibility, and also Doug Pederson always saying it starts with me. That's the message from the two of them. Coach Pederson also caught up with our own Mike Quick a little bit earlier tonight. Here's that interview.
Coach, after a game like this, how do you address the team?
It's funny. As I was walking off the field, that's exactly what I thought of. How am I going to do this? Because I thought the defense played outstanding. Again, kept us in this football game against a good offensive team. This is 2 weeks in a row they've played well, and the offense today really struggled. So, it's kind of twofold. But at the end of the day, and at the end of the message, it's we're a team, right. and we're all three phases. We're not 50-50 or 30-30-30, whatever it is. And we're going to continue to fight. We're going to continue to work, and we'll get things fixed and get ready for next week.
Much is going to be said about your quarterback play over the past couple of weeks, but tell me about the scrambling at the offensive line and all the things, the adjustments you had to make there with the injuries and such.
Yeah, it's it definitely can take a toll on you. It can affect you. As far as the moving parts. We had a good week of practice. I really felt like Andre had a good week of preparation at right tackle. Each day he got better. He was prepared, ready to go. And then sometimes in game, things just happen. And then of course you have to make an adjustment there. So Big V went in and settled down just a little bit in the second half. But other than that, we got to look at it. Everybody has to look at it with open eyes, and we got to get better.
How do you get your quarterback back on track?
That's something we'll discuss the next couple of days and get ready for Miami. But we just got to get back to some of the basics, I think, and maybe go back to some of the things that he had success with early in the year, maybe even as an offense, and really just allow him to play to play free, whether that's up-tempo, which we had success today doing some of that, or whatever. We just got to take a hard look at that as a coaching staff, and we got to help him too.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.
Okay, great stuff as always there from Mike Quick and Doug Pederson. We are going to take a quick break. We will see you on the other side. You won't want to miss the Rico review. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Postgame Show as we continue to break down the Eagles' loss to the Seattle Seahawks. A strong performance from the Eagles' defense, who really got pressure on Russell Wilson, made him uncomfortable all night. A lot of sacks on the Seahawks quarterback, a big one coming from Fletcher Cox, getting the credit on that. He is the subject of this week's Rico review. Fran Duffy is going to break it down for us. Take it away, Fran.
Well, one of the big stories of the first half was absolutely this Eagles defense. 4 sacks on Russell Wilson. The pressure was constant, and it didn't always result in a sack, but all throughout the first half, he was very hurried in his processing, led to a lot of incompletions, some misses that are uncharacteristic of Russell Wilson. A lot of that goes to not just the defensive line, but tight coverage on the back end. And it all started on the first third down of the game. Really well-schemed sack here from Jim Schwartz and this Eagles defense. Here's what you're going to see. Along the line of scrimmage, you're going to have 5 Eagles defenders, 5 over 5, what's commonly known as a diamond front here across the NFL. And you're going to see what that does is it just creates a series of one-on-one matchups, because the offensive line, they don't know who's coming, who's going, who's dropping out. So you have to account for everybody, which means that all 5 offensive linemen, they're going to be occupied by 5 blockers. Now, the 5th blocker along this defensive front is Nigel Bradham. He's the 5th rusher. So he's not actually going to blitz. He's going to step forward and take on the left guard. He is essentially just going to drop back and just be a spy on Russell Wilson. So your 4 rushers here are going to be Derek Barnett off the edge, Fletcher Cox lined up one-on-one with the center, Brandon Graham lined up inside, and Josh Sweat coming off the edge. But like I said, this guard, he doesn't know that Nigel Bradham's not coming, so he has to treat him as if he's going to blitz. And we're going to let this run, and you're going to see exactly what happens here is really, again, 5 one-on-one matchups across the board. And the most pivotal one is this one right here. Fletcher Cox lined up on the backup center. Joey Hunt is just going to bench press him into the backfield, right into the lap of Russell Wilson. You've got tight man-to-man coverage across the board as well in the secondary. He's got nowhere to go with the football, and Fletcher gets home for the sack. Really good job here by this defensive staff and the front 7 of getting home to Russell Wilson and getting off the field for a 3-and-out to start the game.
Okay, great stuff from Fran as always. When we come back, we have the nominees for the Toyota Player of the Week. Don't miss your chance to win a free Toyota. Wouldn't that be so exciting? All right, we will see you on the other side. All right, now is your chance to vote for the Toyota Player of the Week. Go to PhiladelphiaEagles.com/Toyota Player of the Week to cast your vote and get a chance at a brand new Toyota. And this week's nominees, tight end Zach Ertz, defensive end Brandon Graham, and safety Malcolm Jenkins. The nominees there for the Eagles, Ertz with 91 yards and a touchdown today. Brandon Graham and Malcolm Jenkins both making Russell Wilson pretty uncomfortable. Brandon Graham with 1.5 sacks. Malcolm Jenkins with 2 sacks in today's game there. Who gets your vote here on this one?
Oh, I got to go with the defensive guy, the way they performed today. I got to go with Jink. I think
Me too.
Jink,
I was like, you're going to say what I'm thinking.
Yeah, Jink played arguably his best game of the season.
Yeah, he really did.
Around the football everywhere, getting sacks on Russell Wilson. I know he had the responsibility of being somewhat of a spy today with Russell Wilson, so you got to give him credit for Russell Wilson not having the type of running day that he's accustomed to having. So I like the way Jink played. I like Brandon. I mean, my goodness, Brandon, 7 sacks in the last, or 7.5 sacks in his last 7 games. He's been doing an awesome job. And Zach is steady as you go.
Yes.
Mr. Reliable.
Absolutely. And I mean, really the bright spot on the Eagles offense today, the one guy really helping them move the sticks. I also thought it was kind of fun that BG and Malcolm each shared a sack there. They each got half on one of those there. So got to love the teamwork from those guys. Make sure you vote for your chance to win a free Toyota. And I always love to see, we always have our opinions in here about which guys we think deserve it, but I always love to see who the fans pick every week. So that's always really fun for us.
Yeah, it's good that Malcolm and BG shared that sack today, because that's probably the last time they're going to be feeling good with each other. In case you didn't recognize, Michigan and Ohio State, big game this weekend.
Big game this weekend. Good point. It is about to be rivalry week. Well, stakes a little bit higher for one of those two teams, but definitely, Michigan wants to ruin Ohio State's chances.
Go Buckeyes.
All right, as we look ahead to next week, the Eagles will be on the road for the first time. It's been a little while, but they get to go to some warmer weather, actually to my hometown. I grew up in South Florida. I was raised as a Dolphins fan, and my allegiances are going to be in a different spot next week as well. Dolphins really struggling this season, 2-9. They just lost to the Browns 41-24. Not a lot going on there in Miami.
Yeah, and my first word to the Eagles would be respect your opponent.
Yes.
Because we know the cliche.
They got 2 wins.
Exactly. We know the cliche any given Sunday. So if you don't come ready to play, Miami could have their 3rd win of the season. So it's a business trip. It's not a vacation. Go down there and take care of business. These last 5 games, the Eagles, depending on how the game turns out in New England, they still can find themselves 1 game behind the Cowboys in the standings, and really with the ability to control their own destiny if that happens today. So the Eagles, there's still a lot to play for. They can still win this division, but you got to get back on track starting next week in Miami.
Yeah, you can't underestimate anyone. All of these teams are NFL teams, and of course the Dolphins have been able to get 2 wins. Those teams didn't expect that either. And look, I think Brian Flores is a really good coach. I think he's building something there, but they've gotten rid of a lot of their star players. They are really doing a serious rebuild there, but I like the direction that this coach seems to be taking it there.
And the benefit for the Eagles is that, Brian Flores is obviously from New England. So you just faced New England a couple weeks ago. You're going to get somewhat the same defense down there in Miami, so that should help this offense out, even though you only scored 10 against New England. But seeing a similar defense for the 2nd time in 3 weeks should be beneficial to the offense. It'd be interesting who's available to go next week, because if you still are without the offensive power of Nelson Aguilar and Alshon Jeffrey and your offensive linemen, it can be a struggle. Hopefully we get the majority of those guys back next week to make the quarterback's job a little easier and the head coach's job a little easier when it comes to play calling, because having 24 in that backfield sort of gives everybody a comfort zone.
Yeah, he opens everything up. Well, and like you mentioned to me earlier, it's going to be a short week with the holiday going on. And hey, speaking of New England, they're currently up 10-0 on the Cowboys, so that's something we're all going to be watching as the night unfolds. Of course, you can get all your coverage of that Miami Dolphins matchup, everything leading up to it, and tons of breakdowns from today's game as well on PhiladelphiaEagles.com. All of our channels, all the podcasts, tons of good content, insider content you can't get anywhere else there. And we will be back next week, right back here in these same seats 30 minutes before kickoff with the Kickoff Show presented by Exalta, and breaking it back down with the Postgame Show presented by Rico. As always, we will see you then. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Have a good one.